back again with another episode of Beyond the Comfort Zone. I am James English. As usual, I have my co-hosts with me, Gerren Sprauve. As you can see, we're
Sure.
not in the studio today, but we are excited to have this conversation with you. So, Gerren, any opening comments before we jump into our discussion today?
Nah, they need to know what we're talking about. What are we talking about today, Jay?
Okay, so Garen and I, we're a little older, so we missed some of the latest trends. I should say latest. You'll get what I mean in a minute. But reaction videos have been a thing for years, right? Reaction videos have been a big thing. And I've always been fascinated by them because they give a collective opinion based on something that's current, right? Something that everybody's watching and responding to. And so, Garen and I are going to jump in, but we're doing it a little different. We're calling it a reflection video because we're using this content as a launch pad for some inner conversations, some reflections from us that's on brand for us. So today, I'm excited to bring forward a conversation that Steven Bartlett did with Kevin Hart on the Diary of a CEO. And if you are not following Steven Bartlett, he's a great guy. He's a great follow, a very reflective interviewer, and I think
Yeah,
really sets the tone for what a modern day kind of interview looks and feels like. And I enjoyed this video a lot, and in ways that I didn't necessarily expect to. I watch a lot of Kevin Hart content. I've gotten used to his voice. I kind of know his story, but you can see some things happening. And Steve Bartlett, I think, really drew it out. Aaron, anything that really stood out to you in watching this video, just high level to kick things off?
yeah. No, I'm happy that everybody gets to kind of see some of the conversations that we have in our group chat, right? Because we
Yeah.
do send these videos over when any one of us are watching a video, and we figure that it will be something for us to discuss. We throw it out in the group chat, but I really when I saw Kevin Hart having an interview with Stephen Bartlett, I jumped in because
Mm.
I like the serious Kevin, right? Versus just the guy, the comedian. I like him when he's talking about his journey, when he's talking about his growth, because I realized in previous videos that he's a stickler to the details. I know people see him and they think like he's always just funny, but the guy is really serious about his craft. So when I saw that he was sitting down with Steve Bartlett, I tuned in, man. So yeah, so I'm really eager to jump into this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people may not realize Kevin has quietly built quite the like business enterprise. He is heavily invested in a lot of things, has a lot of projects going on behind the scenes, and effectively he has built up his brand in a way that has allowed him to, be kind of a perfect pitch man, right? He has put himself in a place where everyone knows him. He creates a reaction in everybody. For most, it's generally positive, and big companies have picked up on that. He talked a little bit about that, or I should say, a lot about that in the video, in the interview, and how that really helped propel him forward. And
Yeah,
so, again, for those of you that may only know him as the comedian, I challenge you to watch it because you will see a side of him, to Garen's point, a more serious, a more reflective side that I think will allow you to really see where he's going. Because while his story is very much a history of where he's come from, right?
hmm
He is so focused on where he's going that it brings the two worlds together, the past and the future, in a way that I think is really unique. And so again, I encourage you, and I may even pin the link in the video so that folks can link if they
hmm
don't have they can't find it, to go and check it out. But again, I think Steve Bartlett did an incredible job.
yeah,
So, okay, so Garen, so there's a couple things, a couple phases of the video that I want us to really chop up, and I want us to give answers like
sure.
we were in the chair with Stephen Bartlett. Okay, maybe one
Yeah,
day we will be, but for now we will act like we are. And so,
sure.
um, let's go through a couple different exercises here, three in particular that they went through in the video that I think would be really, 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 really cool for us to do. Now, first is, and I'll pitch it to you, and then we can, go back and forth.
Sure.
All right. So there was a portion of the video where Steven asked Kevin
Hmm.
to draw a picture of his career. Like it's like a line graph that, is kind of a continuous line, but it bumps up based on when Kevin grew, right?
Yeah.
Or there was something that propelled him forward. And then maybe even dips when he took a step back, right? But generally the line was heading up. Garen, do the same. Give us a picture. If you were to have to draw a picture of what Gerren Sprauve's career has been,
Yeah.
what would that look like?
Yeah. 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 No. So from a graph standpoint, I I reset after college. Okay, so you see me going up from high school, got to college. I would say I plateaued at college, one version of myself. And the way that I see it in my mind, James, is like I leaped up and then I reset again. So it wasn't like I leaped up and then I trended upwards. I leaped up to a new way of thinking, which was, and I really applaud myself for this. I was just thinking about this the other day, man. The fact that 4 years after leaving college, I jumped into a purpose-driven career.
Mm,
I'm really impressed that that version of Garen thought that way. Meaning, I wasn't chasing money. I wasn't looking for the next hype thing. I was looking for purpose immediately coming out of college. So making the move that I did, starting the company that I did, or making the decision that I did, it was a whole new reset. So from that level, I want to say like I dropped down to
mm,
go up. Okay, so yes, I made a decision. I quit my job, did my thing. I dropped down because it was such a humbling experience by choice to then move up on this trajectory of a purpose-driven career. So that during that process, James, I became so confident in my decision that I no longer was making choices based on anybody else's perception of me. It was truly on the journey that I had set forward for myself.
mm.
So, however I interacted with the world, it became so beautiful. It became so exciting for me because who would have thought a guy who chose to become a janitor to start this new journey would would have interacted with so much of life and met so many cool people and done such cool things on that trajectory. So again, high school, college, that was its own trajectory. I made it through college, yay! And then there was a new jump to like another level of just purpose-driven living, and that's
Mm.
been the journey that I've been on to this date, man. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's been on the up and up. What
Okay.
about you?
Man, you know what? It's an interesting question because I will tell you that this new phase of life and career for me has absolutely got me to reset and rethink the answer to this question. My
Okay.
old answer would have been, got out of college, tons of momentum, and then my path was just like this, dead, just straight up,
Yeah.
no real bends. Yes, I had my ups and downs, but generally I was on the path that, and perhaps even ahead of the curve
Mm,
of what I thought I would accomplish, right? Now, that was just career. That was not my purpose curve. And you
yeah.
mentioned something in your answer, which is you came out into a purpose driven situation where you had the ability to infuse that into what you were trying to do and build.
Yeah.
I was on the other end of that. I ultimately was living someone else's version of what life should look like.
Yeah.
And so as I reflect on that, I would say I was more flatlined, even as I grew in title, even as I grew in money, all of that. I was plateaued for a very long time. Now, I think I did go up. I learned a lot. I got a lot of exposure and experience. You
Mm,
can't take those things away, right? You just can't take
yeah.
those things away. However, when it comes to purpose, the things that stick out to me on that journey that I say were completely purpose, like blips of purpose,
Hmm.
were had nothing to do or very little to do with my day job. they might have been things my day job allowed me to do. So, case in point, Garen, the one we talk about a lot is the stuff we did at Oakwood.
Yeah,
When
no,
we did that stuff at Oakwood, that was hugely impactful.
yeah.
And lives were changed, impacted, growth happened for people. We invested in some kids that were had a lot of momentum but needed a little bit of steering. I mean, all of those things are true. And so, but without my day job,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have gotten to that point. So I respect it, but at the same time, I realized that I was on a generally flat curve. Now, when you're flat or near flat for 20 years,
Mm.
um, but you believe you're like this,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
uh,
There's a reconciliation that occurs, right? There's a reconciliation that occurs. And I have been going through that reconciliation for the last year plus now. And so now I believe I'm like this because to your point, because I'm now choosing more of how I move forward, what I'm building, what I'm investing into, the ability to put purpose in it, infuse it with purpose and direction I'm now joining you in that journey of having the
yeah.
flexibility in doing that. And that for me is probably one of the biggest lessons here, Garen. And you heard it in Kevin's comments too, because as
Mhm.
he drew his map, the further he got along, you could tell the more ownership he felt. He felt
Sure.
he had more flexibility. He could now pick and choose what he spent time with. He could pick and choose when he left the house because he wanted to spend more time with family. You can
Yeah.
pick and choose what you put your name and likeness on, and frankly, how you benefit from that, from those efforts. And so being able to create that space where you can pick and choose, you have a bit more flexibility is something I'm now enjoying. And it doesn't take away the stress, meaning all of the things that were present when I was during that 20 years of this are present now. But the difference is, to your point, the purpose that comes with that, the purpose that's attached to that has made the entire experience different. Any response to that, Sprout?
Listen, as you were talking about it, I thought about your trajectory. I
Hmm.
don't have anything round, so these are my highlighters, right? So I saw like a hole in your this is your purpose around here. So this is like your foundation. So you were going up, but there was a hollow space within you, man, on that journey. And but to your point, had you not had those relationships, had you not have that type of funding, um, or salary, right? Because it was a salary, you wouldn't have been able to do some of the things that you did. So there was like there was such it was, man, everybody has their journey, James, right? I remember you being on that trajectory, and I would tap in and ask questions. What is it like in corporate America? I don't know what it is, man. Like, tell me what you're learning, James. We would have these conversations, right? Because I was curious. I wanted to know. And you in turn would ask questions. What's it like going on out there, Garrett? And I would give a perspective, right? And it wasn't like we were just trying to just switch positions, but man, we recognized that we were both choosing our hard, right? And like doing it. And now that you've made a decision, the one thing that I'm most proud about you in this is that now you are connected to your work differently, right? So when it's hard, I can smile at you and like nudge you along the way, like, yes, yes, brother. But it's meaningful work. It's meaningful work, man. So to Kevin's his trajectory, his growth, we're seeing it. We're noticing how he's asking the right questions, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit. He's asking the right questions. He's being as curious as possible. He's recognizing his ignorance and inquiring, like, what's that? What's going on here? So that he can take the ownership that you talked about in his career.
So that's even another kind of lane of this topic is as you infuse purpose,
Mm-hmm.
um, you're okay being more vulnerable because you're no longer just trying to win the approval of a group of people, right? Or no longer just trying to do just enough to get the next promotion. You are now genuinely invested in what you're looking at, what you're building. And in doing so, you now want to know, you want to make sure you are an asset to the conversation. So you'll ask questions, you'll go do research, you'll go take some classes that before you might have just rejected, because now you see the clear purpose of why that information would
Yeah.
benefit you. And so even the absorption of knowledge, right, becomes easier. You get hungry and thirsty to go and learn and fill that void. So, and it came out very humorously in the video where he's like, I don't know what these people are talking about, right? And again, we'll get more into that in a minute, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you build yourself up in order to show up better and differently in these situations. And so, this concept of um my, this concept of how I reflect on, or how we reflect on our experiences, how we both are kind of at a unique place at the same time from two
Mhm.
very different starting points. But at the end of the day, to your point, this concept of purpose and now the ability to infuse that in completely flips your brain and causes you to think very differently about everything you've been through. I'll say one more thing, and I'll pass it to you.
Sure.
I will not say the 20 years was a waste. I don't want to let anybody think from my comments that I believe it was a waste. It has absolutely given me all of the experiences, the community, the network, both
The network.
globally and right, that I can now springboard from. And but if you know me as an introvert, somebody that's not the out networking all the time, I had to go through that experience. I had to go through those 20 years of that kind of mundane, progressive corporate life
Yeah.
to put me there. Work
Yeah.
put me there. I had to foster those relationships. I had to do those things. And now I'm clearly benefiting from them in terms of now I can springboard and do some of the things I am passionate about because I have some of these connections. Again, anything on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I reflect on. I don't remember how long we've been riding bikes, doing trail riding, but I do remember Curtis one time asking our buddy Curtis asking one time, like, man, why are you making those trips all across the world? Like, what is that for? You know, not knowing that, probably 2 years later, there'll be a time when you would have stepped away and all of a sudden, all of these relationships that you've fostered are now so critical to what's next,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes we don't understand. No, oftentimes we do not understand why we're going through what
Mm.
we're going through. But it makes sense. And something I'm challenging myself to do is to stay steady through the training so that I don't feel guilty of looking back and saying, that's why. But more so, just like, I welcome this, right? It made sense all along. I'm glad that
Mm.
I didn't have these highs and lows. I just stayed steady and worked through my emotions, but didn't curse at anyone or anything along the way. So that's
Yeah.
that's what I do from that, man.
Yeah.